Welcome back to Turn Pain into Power podcast. Yes, y'all. And remember to go ahead and check out my custom t-shirts, www.custom-art-t-shirts.myshopify.com. And TikTok shop will be holding my custom t-shirts in a few shortly. I will definitely keep you guys up to date. Today's topic is deep and definitely something that I grew from. The name of this topic is going to be how to stop allowing fear to have control over your life. Yes, y'all. Let me tell you something. When you are covered by and protected by the shield and armor of the Most High, by God, can no man put no fear in your heart. Can no situation put no fear in your heart. Can no man on this earth ever put no fear in your heart, because baby, you are protected. So yes, we're gonna get right up into this topic today. See, I've learned in life that when fear arrives at your doorstep, you have two choices. You can either run from it or you can go towards it and face it head first. And believe you me, when you run from your fears, from anything that puts fear in your heart, you're going to be running for a long time, because running will become a coping mechanism, a reflex, like a defensive mechanism, where anytime fear comes into play, you're going to be running. It's anything that triggers that fear in you will cause you to run. So I'm hearing and running. Yeah, you're going to be running for a long time. Thing that triggers that fear in you, and I'll give you a personal experience of what has triggered that fear, stemming from childhood trauma that put me in a position to live in fear. You know what I mean? Uncovering that is what really motivated me to speak on this topic, and hopefully inspire others that are allowing fear to control their life, because it's easier said than done. But when you consistently and you're constantly running from anything that triggers that fear in you, baby, you're going to be running all your life. And it's going to have such a big control over your life that you won't know any other way to literally deal with fear. Yes. And I want to make this clear to y'all that when you run, when you run and allow fear to control your life, it's really a way to protect yourself from the hurt that comes from being triggered by this fear. And I'll give you a personal experience, because it's something that you unconsciously do, especially when it's something that stems so far back from like childhood trauma. It's kind of like second nature. Like, you don't know what other way to deal with fear other than to run. And it's deep, y'all. It's deep. I'll give you a personal experience. Honestly, the only way to overcome fear is to face it head on. And as a result, what you gain from dealing with fear head on, running towards it, is power, bro. Freedom. You feel so empowered, and as a result of that, you gain confidence to deal with any future fears. Oh yeah, because this thing called life is going to keep throwing a lot of different obstacles and fears. That's what life is. It's overcoming. This journey that we're on is not built for the weak. It's not built for be on a smooth ride. It's really not. So as a result, when you quit running from fear, you know what I mean? When you learn to run towards fear and face whatever triggers that fear in you head on, you will be empowered. You will be inspired by the way that you handle these circumstances. And most importantly, you will gain confidence. Like one of my good friends tells me, built for this. Anytime I'm going through something, I take deep breaths, and in my mind, I'm like, built for this. Like, there's no other way around it. And I'll give you a personal experience of how you can allow fear to control your life if you continue to run from it. So I used to fear rejection growing up. And I used to allow the negative self-talk and negative script that played in the back of my head, embedded by my things I went through in my childhood trauma. That'll be a story for another day. But I used to allow the fear of rejection to control my life, and I would give too much power to other people's validation of my worth of love, sense of self-worth, worth of love and acceptance. So as a result, anytime that I would face rejection, because I allowed the fear of rejection to control me, would confirm this narrative of I'm unworthy of love or I'm unlovable. You see, the power of not seeking validation from anyone or any outside sources are correlated to your negative self-talk, because anytime I got rejected, it would confirm this mistaken belief that I was unworthy of love, or that I was not accepted or not good enough. You know what I mean? So what I learned is that I was allowing the fear of rejection to control my life. And it's because I kept running. You know, I would, for example, just ignore that person if I ever felt like they were rejecting me. So I would literally turn the other way. I would seek validation from other people's, you know, replace that person's friendship with other people's attention. So, you know, when you consistently run from what you have to heal from your childhood trauma, it's just that you're not going to heal until you stop running and face it. You know what I mean? And it's crazy, because when you think about it, it's all your negative self-talk. It's this negative script that is correlated to what you go through in your childhood, and you know, it creates a childhood trauma. So for me, I moved around a lot, and I was raised by a narcissist that was a perfectionist and was highly critical. So for me, it created a fear of rejection, to where I searched for that validation to fill that void in others. And so when you do that, what ends up happening is that you put too much power in other people's hands and in their validation. As a result, anybody would reject me, it would end up confirming that false narrative, that mistaken belief. It would confirm that mistaken belief that I was unworthy of love, or that I wasn't good enough. It's not until I uncovered this, and I want to go ahead and give a shout out to, there's a book that I actually, you know, as I was reading it, I was able to unfold this and say, oh no, I'm breaking free. Because it's freedom when you're actually able to acknowledge what is controlling your life, what is it that in your childhood trauma is still affecting you now. That's when you're able to heal. So there's this book that I was reading, and it was touching base on how the negative script that is formed in your childhood times, well, 9 times out of 10, is going to be what you tell yourself, and it's going to be that negative script that confirms that mistaken belief of what occurred in your, you know, what created that fear in your childhood trauma. So for me, it was rejection, and it literally, anytime I would get rejected, it would confirm this mistaken belief that I was unworthy of love. And because of that, I would run from it. I would run from this fear anytime I was faced with it. And so the book is called The Art of Letting Go by Nick Trenton. I hope I'm saying that right. Trenton. And trust me when I tell you, healing is hard, especially when you start to unfold what has been really affecting you in your adult life, you know, from your childhood trauma. And that's why I wanted to touch base on this, because I did a motivational message last week about not letting no man, you know, when you're connected to a higher source, there's no man that can put any fear in your heart. And so it kind of goes along with this topic of not allowing fear to control your life. So I hope that this inspires anybody out there that still hasn't even acknowledged, you know, still is, you know, sometimes childhood trauma is, you're blindfolded, because it's something that controls your life for so long that you're blind to it. You're unconscious until you start to face these fears head on. You know what I mean? And I hope this helps. I hope this inspires somebody out there that is allowing fear to control their life for so long that they finally realize they need to break free, because there is nothing more freeing, more empowering, more inspiring, even to you, even inspiring yourself with realizing what is it that is holding you in bondage. You know what I mean? Yes. So yes, y'all, healing is vital to ending this negative self-talk, this negative script, this mistaken belief that sometimes the fear of rejection may confirm. Not seeking validation in others, and just realizing what it is that is controlling your life, what's keeping you living a life in fear. That is step one. Once you acknowledge what it is, you can move forward from it. So I hope this helps. And then once you're able to acknowledge it, you can replace these negative self-talk, this negative script, with positive self-talk. So step number one is always going to be acknowledging, so that you know what it is that you need to change. And it is nothing that gives you more freedom and joy than to actually heal from something that's been keeping you in bondage and controlling your life and keeping you in a position where you're living your life in fear. So, like the title of this topic, stop allowing fear to control your life, so that you can start living the life that you are destined to live, a life that you actually want to live, full of purpose and joy and love. Remember to go ahead and tune in to that TikTok shop with my custom t-shirts. I will keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for tuning in to Turn Pain into Power podcast. I hope this helps anybody out there that is going through this where they don't know what's wrong. Sometimes you don't even know what's wrong because you've been living in fear for so long, but something is wrong because you're using these different defense mechanisms to protect yourself from the hurt that comes from, for example, from the rejection that comes from others. Let me leave y'all off with something. Been worth it, is worth it, always will be worth it. Don't ever let anybody's love or anybody's rejection make you feel like you're unworthy of love. And anytime you're going through it, just remember, hashtag built for this. Remember to go ahead and check out my custom t-shirts, www.custom-art-t-shirts.myshopify.com. TikTok shop will be available soon. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. Have a blessed day. And thank you for tuning in to Turn Pain into Power podcast.